Good morning, guys. Happy Thursday. It is a hot mother outside. I live in Texas, and it's insufferable outside. It's terrible. You can't even breathe. Can't breathe. The heat is no joke. Anyways, I spent the last 4.5 hours of my morning reading this book. It is Strength Beyond the Shadows by Seth Gehle. This man right here. You might recognize him from one of Soft White Underbelly's interviews that was circulating on TikTok not too long ago. And as I was listening to Seth's interview, when I found out that he had written a book, I immediately went to Amazon and put it in my cart and purchased it. And I've had this book for 4 months now, at least, somewhere around there. It's just sat on my bookshelf, and I thought about it several times. I've just never picked it up to actually read it until I did, and I didn't put it down. The reason I bought this book is because Seth went through one of the just awful things in childhood. The most heartbreaking, lonesome childhood that you could imagine. It is probably worse. And I wanted to see how he wrote his book. That's really why I bought it. There have been several occasions in my life, probably about 3 or 4 times, where I've just kind of opened up to people about, just little tidbits of what has happened at this point or that point of my life. And I've been met with the same statement: you should write a book. But I don't really know how to write my book. Because the villains in my story, I've forgiven. Some of them have grown. They're not these people anymore. They're better people. And I'm afraid of tarnishing those relationships with those people, or tarnishing their relationships with other people when they learn about the things that they put me through. And so I was curious, how did Seth approach telling his story? And honestly, Seth was just pretty direct. He didn't change any names that I think. He just was kind of like, this is what happened to me. But I think the difference with Seth and I is his abusers don't seem to be a part of his everyday life. Doesn't seem to have any sort of relationship with them. And so why would he need to hide their identities? Another thing that really inspired me to want to read this book is, although Seth went through the things that he did as a child, something in him, he just always felt like he was meant for something more. And I've kind of always felt that way. I've been kicked down and had my face rubbed in the dirt and just been kicked in the head, it seems. There's so many different chapters in my life, and for whatever reason, I always knew that I was going to rise and be greater than before, and that I was meant for more. And when I tell you that it eats away, it's something that I think about every single day, about telling my story and writing a book. I literally think about it every single day. I just really don't know how to approach it. I'm going to read you some stuff that Seth wrote in his book that I really enjoyed. One thing that I've maybe told people when I was telling them my story, or that I've jotted down in my journal, is although I've gone through the things that I have, I've been thankful to have gone through them because they've given me eyes to see. They've given me more empathy than what I think more people have. They've given me a new perspective. They've allowed me to know not to be so quick to cast judgment on the homeless person or the addict or the alcoholic or the murderer or anything, because what made you that person? Something hurt you, somebody's lack of love, or so many different things. Something happened to you, and I just kind of see people more because of the experiences that I went through. One thing that Seth wrote in this book, it says, the world needs a wake-up call. People need to read books like this that tell the whole truth, the hard truth, the truth that can give people perspective and maybe even nightmares. Then he also wrote, if there is one message to point out to you from my story, it is this. I will always remind myself that I am glad that I am the one who had to suffer through all of this. For those of you who have had to suffer through hard things as well, ask the question, if you didn't suffer, would someone else have to go through it? Would they make it out alive? Would they be in the same position you are in? Or would they be here reading this book looking for answers? Reflect on that for a minute. Suffering builds endurance. Endurance builds character. Character inspires hope in others. Becoming an admirable person requires suffering in most cases. Being a source of hope and inspiration is an honor, if I say so myself. I only say this now because I've had people tell me how much they appreciate me sharing my story. It's not about you and me, though. It's about the people we can save by sharing our stories with others so that they don't feel so alone in this world. Part of me talking about the things that I've experienced through my life are, I think that somebody else would be like, if you can make it through that, I can make it through this. I think that I could just help somebody else feel seen. And I want to be seen too. I kind of want people to understand me more than what I think anybody does. The people that I think probably can relate and understand more than anybody else would be my sisters. But there's so much more that even they don't know, that nobody knows. And I don't know when, but like I said, I think about sharing my story all the time. I just hope that eventually I'm giving a bit more clarity on how I'm supposed to go about doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to just wait until a question presents itself, answer that question, and just let everything unfold from there. I really don't know. I just know that I want to protect the people in my story who hurt me, because I truly think that they're not who they were when they were hurting me. And yeah. If you read that book, it's a good book. I'm going to tell you the first couple of chapters are very triggering, especially if you've ever had to deal with abuse, drug use in the home growing up, or SA. It can be very triggering and hard to read. But altogether inspiring to see how through what Seth went through, just resilient, and I'm going to continue to rise above, and I'm going to be great. And, you know, there's something that I think about often. It's about two sons who have an alcoholic father, and one son, they're, both asked, why are you an alcoholic? Why aren't you an alcoholic? And the alcoholic goes, I'm an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic. And the other son is like, I'm not an alcoholic because my father was an alcoholic. There's always multiple ways that you can deal with situations and hardships. And what I admire about Seth is that he just has the willingness to overcome the same way that I do. He's not going to use his fucked up childhood as an excuse to be a fucked up person. He's going to use it as inspiration to do and be greater than anybody else in his family has ever been before. And I just love that.